I worked for SWIA some 20 years-ish ago in the early 2000s. So I think that's how I initially met you both. And then when I saw the call for artist websites help, I did that and sort of selfishly picked people I already knew because I've been so busy. I thought, oh God, I don't have time with someone I don't know at all. And I have to just say that Steve and Marian had a really good site started. I just kind of came in and I hope provided a little break as they were going through some sort of tragic events this summer. So anyway, Steve and Marian are talented jewelers. Marian's also a painter and dancer. I don't know if everybody knows that about her, but like most artists, very talented in many ways, even though they're kind of known for one thing. Steve was also a sculptor, probably still does that as well. And you can see all of those talents in their tufa cast jewelry. I brought my ring, and I'm sure Steve and they'll show you too, but I had to wear it today for obvious reasons. They'll talk probably more about that technique. It's a really old technique, one that they're very talented at. So they're really well known for their tufa cast, their stonework. They're award-winning. They've been all over the world traveling with jewelry and with their children, who are also very talented. I'm sure I'm leaving out a million things, but I want them to talk. So.
Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. And thank you, Stacy, so much for that introduction. I really want to acknowledge Stacy. She's really been a great help to us this past year. And as she mentioned, we've known each other for quite a number of years. We did meet in Santa Fe, and that's where I met my wife, Marian Denipah. I'm Hopi, originally from the village of Moncopy, Arizona. And I wanted to also say hello to everybody that tuned in today. Thank you for tuning in. But originally, I'm from the village of Moncopy, and I kind of have a similar background. I think both of us have a similar background to Michelle, because Michelle is a very, very good friend. But as a young boy, I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and my first formative years, I grew up in the village of Moncopy. But my father was in the Air Force. And so at about the age of maybe 4 years old, we started joining him, my family and I, at his different posts. So I was kind of like able to travel and see the world at a very young age and to interact with other peoples outside of my tribal nations. I lived in California. My dad was stationed in Guam, so I was in Guam for a couple of years. And over my lifetime, you know, I returned to the village of Moncopy after he retired at about the age of 12 years old. And I lived there for a few more years, and I was immersed in the Hopi culture because my grandfather was a very prominent Hopi religious leader. And so I spent a lot of time with my grandfather. And then about when I was in high school, we moved into Flagstaff, Arizona, where I finished high school and went to college. And when I was going to college, my ideal was to become a medical professional. And that was my goal. And also I had a business background too. And one year, as a president of the Native Americans United Club at Northern Arizona University, we sponsored a powwow. And we had a big delegation come from Santa Fe, from the Institute of American Indian Arts that came to our powwow. And Marian was amongst that group. And that's how we met.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had never heard about the Institute of American Indian Arts, but growing up on the Hopi Reservation and traveling the world, I'd really gotten a big interest in art, and I always took art in high school. And so when I heard about the Institute of American Indian Arts was the first time this delegation came, I was very intrigued, of course, very interested in Marian as well. So I actually wound up leaving Northern Arizona University and then coming to Santa Fe and enrolling at the Institute of American Indian Arts, where I think I finally found my passion, which was art. And as Stacy mentioned, I started as a stone sculptor because that was kind of an extension of Kachina doll carving, which I did a lot of when I was younger. And then eventually I got into jewelry, which really just took off for both of us. And so we've been able to be involved in all the major art shows, like Michelle as well. We've traveled the world, as Stacy mentioned. Surprisingly, our artwork has taken us to places I never dreamed of, because when I first became an artist, I thought, okay, I'll be happy just to sell on the side of the road, on the reservation or wherever. In Flagstaff, there was this place called the Overlook, which looks out over the valley, the canyon of Sedona. And a lot of artists set up there. So I was like happy just to do that and try to make a living doing that. But over the years, we've had opportunities and we've been invited to places. And eventually, we traveled all over the world exhibiting in places that we never even dreamed of. We've both been to Japan numerous times. We've been to China. I've been to Turkmenistan, where I did a show at the National Museum of Turkmenistan. So we've been to Europe and to Canada, and so we really have had great opportunities in the art world. And through the years, we've been able to provide for our family. We have a family of 2 boys and 2 girls. As Stacy mentioned, we lost our oldest son, who was a well-renowned Native American dancer, this past summer, which was really heartbreaking for us. And but through them as well, through our children, we've been able, because they became dancers, and so they've been able to share their cultural Native American dances all over the world as well. So we've been able to visit them at different places all across the world, and to learn about other cultures and other peoples, and make new friends through some of the endeavors that our children have been involved with. And so we now live here in the Pueblo of Ohkay Owingeh, where Marian is from. As Michelle mentioned, Marian is also Navajo. Her father is full-blooded Navajo. My mom is full-blood Hopi. As I mentioned, I'm registered with the Hopi tribe, but my dad is also a Northern Plains tribe called the Assiniboine. And he is from Fort Belknap, Montana. But we make our home here. We came back here to the Pueblo of Ohkay Owingeh about 10 years ago. And we got involved with Michelle when she was the director up at the Puyi Cliffs. And we've been involved with other groups, the Poe Cultural Center. We're very happy. I'm very happy to see Diane on today, because we've been involved also with Ghost Ranch, where we teach as well, where both Marian and I teach. We feel that giving back is a really big part of our commitment to the art world. So we both teach. I also teach at the Santa Fe Community College. And we also, I am the co-chair of a youth group called the Lightning Boy Foundation, which we're very, very proud of, where we try to encourage and empower our Native youth through art, song, and dance. And since moving here about 10 years ago, we've created 2 groups. One of them is called the Pueblo of Pewaukee Youth Hoop Dancers, and the other, which is still thriving. And as we evolved, we also created another group called the Lightning Boy Foundation, which I am the co-chair of. And we have anywhere from 25 to 40 young students that we try to empower and to have them take pride in their cultural heritage through art, song, and dance. And so, as Michelle is, we keep very busy with all of those, with our artwork and with our commitment to the community and other endeavors. And Marian probably wants to say a little bit about her background as well.
When I was young, in high school, I had a professor, and he was a really great portrait artist. And I was just like, wow, I want to be like him. So when I left high school, I took a couple of classes and was just in awe. And I knew that was where my passion was. But my dad was like, nope, you're going to college. You're going to go be a accountant. So and I went to a little college, and I didn't even understand what anybody was saying. It was way over my head. And I said, no. So I told my mom, I said, I'm going to go to the Indian Art School in Santa Fe. And so I applied, and it was beautiful. I loved it. I knew what I wanted to be. And I ended up taking a portrait class 3 times, because I wanted to make sure that I had it down. That was what I wanted to do. That's who I wanted to be. And I wanted to be good at it. I just didn't want to be So Greg Cahete was our teacher for anatomy. So I took it 3 semesters till I really got portraiture down, and I was in love with it. And then I kept going. And during this time, I had 4 kids. I had Najoni and Nakota and Shondine and Cree. And so during their formative years, we moved to Flagstaff, me and Steve. He took us all to Flagstaff because I thought it was a better education time for our kids. And Nakota was dyslexic. So Steve kind of said, all right, we know he's not going to be, you know, a scientist. So he goes, you know, we'll go with what he, so we went with the dance. And also when I was at IA, I took a lot of dance. So it was easy for me to kind of live vicariously through my kids and pushing them into dance. And so that's how we're kind of all over the place. And then a few years after living in Flagstaff, we met up with an artist, and his name was Rick Charlie. And so we shared a studio with him. He needed a studio space. And so we said, okay, I'll teach him some painting and he'll teach us some jewelry, tufa casting. So that's where, so we were going in a lot of directions. I had 4 kids. I went to NAU and I still kept going with my portraiture. And that's what I truly love. But then changing and getting evolved into this jeweler, I kind of had my design down. And Steve, having the business sense, I just let everything go with Steve in the business way. I'll just be honest. And a mom. So that's what we did. And it just worked out. I was really scared at first, thinking, how the heck am I going to make money for my family just being an artist, you know, and, you know, doing market and the Herd Museum and creating a great relationship with these institutions. You know, we were able to like promote Nakota and all the kids, and Steve's a great businessman, and that's how we were able to do some of the things that we were able to do. And you know, Steve got Nakota on Jay Leno and like, you know, so many different things, and in the movie business. And so in that way, you know, we, like I said, we have a lot of extensions from just our art, you know. But the pandemic has been a sad time for us because we did lose Nakota. And our lives were forever changed, but vicariously still living through him, Steve has this Lightning Boy Foundation and giving back to the children and seeing all those little kids hoop dance and teaching them how to hoop dance. It's beautiful. So I'm glad our family kind of like brought it back to New Mexico. You know, that's what I think Steve is going to be known for, is like, you know, giving back to the community and having Nakota teach all the youth. To me, that is really beautiful because, you know, a lot of kids really need to get out and exercise and have a part of their culture. So, and that's where we are. So right now we're living in Ohkay Owingeh. I live on a small farm. I have sheep, chickens and ducks and all that stuff. And we grew blue corn this year, so I'm making a bunch of blue corn. My goal is to make blue corn elk meat tamales. And but we'll show you some of our jewelry. Most of my paintings, we've got Cree started in a new studio space in Santa Fe, and so we're trying to push him along in his endeavors. He likes to do jewelry, and Shondine is still dancing and getting into acting a little bit.
So speaking about artwork, is Michelle showed us her beautiful shoes and her paintings, and I got 4 women in my life: my wife, my 2 daughters, and my granddaughter, and they all have shoes from Michelle. And my daughter just loved Michelle's paintings. So my oldest daughter is a health professional, and she just recently bought a home in Santa Fe, and she's really happy because finally she can put up Michelle's paintings in the place that she wants, you know. So she's very, very excited about getting more of Michelle's paintings and buying more artwork from some of our other friends. But like, as I mentioned, all of my women have shoes from Michelle. So So, and
I don't know what I'd do without you guys.
but we're coming to you from our studio here in Santa Fe, not Santa Fe, excuse me, Ohkay Owingeh, Pueblo. When we moved here, we basically inherited the property that Marian's mom had for many, many years. So we're not quite in the Pueblo. We're a little bit outside of the Pueblo of Ohkay Owingeh. We have about 4 acres. And as Marian mentioned, we have a small farm. So instead of when we moved here, I was considering getting a studio, and the closest city to us was Espanola. But after thinking about it, I thought, you know, it's kind of dangerous because at that time crime was high and everything. And so we decided to buy this little cabin. And so this little cabin serves as our studio. And it works pretty well because it's just outside our home. I can roll out of bed in the morning and grab a cup of coffee and just come into the studio. So I'm going to pick up my computer and show you some of the work that we've been doing. And here's our website.
Yay!
I just kind of put it on a... So our website is dlfineart.org. And I need more of a professional, but we do an old style casting process called tufa casting, and it involves the use of a volcanic stone called tufa stone. And this is an example of one of the pieces of tufa stone that we use in our jewelry process. But what we do is we cut pieces of this tufa stone and then we carve designs into it. So I'm going to show you a ring blank that I've carved a design into, and it's a water wave design. And once this process is done, carving the tufa stone, then it's matched with its mate, and these two things are clamped tightly together, and then molten silver is heated up in a crucible. And we like to use what's called the casting grain. This is the sterling silver casting grain that we use in our jewelry process. And so we'll get some of the casting grain and we'll put it in our crucible. And then, of course, we get our flame. And then we melt the silver in the crucible. Push it down just a little bit more. There you go.
Wow.
So once the silver is molten, then it's poured into the molds. It's poured into the molds through this hole called the sprue here. And then once the silver is solidified, then we cut it off and then we start processing it. And so this is the final piece that we're trying to get with this particular ring design here. So you see I have the mold with the water waves carved into it, and then sterling silver is then poured into the mold, and this is kind of like the finished product right here. Wow. So this is called tufa cast jewelry, and on the table here are some of our jewelry creations here that you can see. So starting there, we do a lot of inlay work too with our jewelry. So we inlay, once we cast our pieces, then we inlay our pieces with different stones, turquoise. This ring here has Edwards black jades with Morenci turquoise. That was done by my son, Steve LaRance, C-R-E-E, Cree. He's also on our website. There's a bracelet there that's inlaid with turquoise, lapis lazuli, Mediterranean red coral. And then here's a rack of sterling silver rings.
Can you guys see them? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And then on the table there, you'll see what's called a treasure necklace. Marian likes to.
I've been doing wax casting.
She does a different process called wax casting as well. So all the little adornments are all wax cast in sterling silver, and then it's with 6 strands of high-grade Mediterranean red coral. There's a bolo tie that my son inlaid with lapis lazuli. He cast that as well in tufa casting, and then he cut each stone and polished them and inlaid each stone. Here's some of our rings that we also get different pieces. We get we fabricate our bezels, but we also cast our ring shank. So you can see the ring shank is cast in tufa. And then there's a beautiful piece of cereals turquoise that's set in the middle there with a handmade bezel. There is also a coral ring that also has a tufa cast. And then Marian also fabricated this medallion, a turquoise medallion with strands of turquoise, as well as handmade beads as well. So all of these pieces can be seen on our website. We really enjoy.
Fits me.
I think our creative process. We get a lot of inspiration from our ceremonies, from the places that we visit. As we mentioned, we've been blessed to be able to travel throughout the world, and whenever we go to different places of the world, we always try to take in like the museums and the cultural sites. And it kind of gives us some inspiration, but it also lets us learn about the different cultures of the world, because we feel that knowing a little bit about everybody's culture kind of makes us more aware and understanding of other people's lives and their experiences. And we also try to share our culture with other people as well through art, song, and dance. And that's why we have felt that we have to give back to our youth, because they're the next generation. And so not only do we teach dance, the Native American hoop dance, through the Lightning Boy Foundation, and encourage art and song, but I also teach, as I mentioned, at the Santa Fe Community College and at Ghost Ranch, which is just a wonderful opportunity to share our culture with people from all over the world, which we really enjoy doing. So thank you for giving us this opportunity to share a little bit about our lives with you all. And it's just so good to see you all. And we're so happy to be a part of this global entrepreneurship network, or a week with the Community Learning Center. So thank you.